Hello children, greetings of the day. By now you are familiar with all mechanical forces. Today we will learn about momentum conservation, which is very useful because it can explain a number of physical phenomena. One more thing we will know about is constraint relation. It is useful for a lot number of numerical problems in laws of motion. तो शुरू करें. Momentum conservation. So to prove this, first let us consider a 3-particle system. Let that be particle 1, 2 and 3. And for this system, it is physically isolated from all other objects, from all other surrounding. Only these 3 particles are there in the considered system. Then if we write force for this system, it should be written as F is equal to dp by dt. Here this dp by dt is rate of change of momentum for the entire system. Of course, since the constituent particles are 1, 2 and 3, so this can be written as dp1 by dt plus dp2 by dt plus dp3 by dt. These are the only 3 particles in this considered physically isolated system. So I have written net force acting on the system as dp1 by dt plus dp2 by dt plus dp3 by dt. Now, what is this dp1 by dt? It should be force on 1 because rate of change of momentum in particle 1 has to be equal to force applied on 1. So, this is F1 and similarly dp2 by dt can be written as F2 and the third one as F3. So, from here we got net F is equal to or net dp by dt is equal to F1 plus F2 plus F3. Now, what is this F1? Since we have considered our system to be physically isolated from the surrounding, so if there is a force applied on 1, it should be applied either by 2 or by 3 or by both. So, F1 can be written as force on 1 due to 2 plus force on 1 due to 3. The same has to be for particle 2. F2 can be written as F on 2 due to 1 plus F on 2 due to 3, and for 3 also this is F on 3 due to 1 plus F on 3 due to 2. So in this way we can write all the 3 forces F1, F2 and F3. Now if you see here, this is F12 and the other force here you can see it is F21. So these two will be equal and opposite, that can be cancelled out. The same is for F13 and F31. These two got cancelled. One more pair you can see F23 and F32. So this all will be equal to 0 because it is a physically isolated system. So no external force has to be acting on the system. And whatever be the force on the particles, its constituent particles, has to be internal force only among the particles. So the resultant force always will be equal to 0. That is from the Newton's third law, and we can write that dp by dt is 0, and if it is 0 then this leads to p should be constant. This is called momentum conservation. Now we can state that if no external force is acting on the system, momentum of system should be conserved. Of course, we cannot say for particle 1, 2 and 3 individually momentum will be conserved. No, it is not the case. It has to be for the whole system, not the individual particles, because on individual particles the forces are acting. It is conserved only for the whole system. So now onwards, whenever there is no external force on the system, momentum of system will remain conserved. Some applications are there for momentum conservation. The first is recoil velocity of gun. When you are holding a gun with bullet in it, please do not do this. It is just an illustration. So if you are holding the gun with bullet inside it, of course momentum of this system is 0. So initial momentum can be written as 0 because the gun as well as the bullet is in rest. But when it is fired, the bullet is fired, then it will come out. If this be the velocity of bullet, which is v1, and let its mass be m, then its momentum becomes mv1. So after firing we can write mv1 is momentum of the bullet. And what about this gun? If gun is having mass m dash, and of course it will be having some velocity, that is called as recoil velocity. So let that velocity be v, then it can be written as m dash v, and the sum has to be equal to 0 because there is no external force acting on the gun bullet system. So if bullet is applying a force on gun, gun will apply a force on bullet. So, and we can write mv1 plus m dash v to be equal to 0, which is our momentum conservation. From here we can see that this v will be equal to minus m v1 upon m dash. This is called recoil velocity. As you can see a minus sign here, so gun will recoil in opposite direction. Now you can show the direction here and this be the magnitude. So this is recoil velocity of a gun. One more system I have taken, which is rocket propulsion. Actually it is very useful concept for rocket propulsion because with help of momentum conservation only the rocket gets the impulse to be launched. So here when rocket is stationary, it not yet fired, not yet launched, then initial momentum has to be 0, right? And when it is fired, it is launched, then and the mass of fuel which is coming out of it is ejected from the rear is m2, then we can write m1 v1 plus m2 v2, which is final momentum for the system, and it should be equal to initial momentum because there is no external force acting on the system. And then we can write m1 v1 is equal to minus m2 v2. From here velocity of rocket is equal to minus m2 v2 upon m1. So if v2 is the velocity with which the gas is ejected from rear, this will be the velocity with which rocket gets upward lift. So this is how momentum conservation is applied even in case of rocket propulsion. One more important term is there, that is impulse. What is this impulse now? When a force acts on a body, it produces a change in momentum. This effect itself is called impulse. So impulse is nothing but change in momentum. Now you can write, now as we know, F can be written as dp by dt. So change in momentum, that is dp, can be written as F dt. This term is called momentum. Especially it is useful for the cases when force is applied for a very short interval of time and it is having very large amplitude. That is why sometimes it is also called impulsive force. When force is applied with a jerk, that is called impulsive force. So impulsive forces are very large forces applied for a very short duration of time. For those kinds of forces, it is not normally possible to calculate the value of force. What can be calculated easily is change in momentum before and after the event, and that is why we can calculate value of impulse, not the force but the impulse. Now as you can see, if we draw F versus T and let this be the nature of force which is acting, and consider a small time dt here. On x-axis I have taken t, on y-axis is f, then this area under curve will be f dt. So that is the impulse for this small interval of time dt. If we are interested in a large interval, let that be from t1 to t2, then of course we have to consider the whole area, and then it can be written as mathematically delta p is equal to integration of f dt. And what is f dt? That is area under the curve. So this is how impulse is calculated. Sometimes during solving our numericals, impulse has to be written, and we will see this in our later sessions when a lot number of questions will be solved. Now based on the things that we have learned till now, I have taken one illustration. Let's solve this. A rubber ball of mass 0.4 kg hits the ground at an angle of 30 degree with the ground. Okay, first draw the situation. It is the ground at which a ball is hitting with angle 30 degree with ground and rebounds at the same angle without any change in speed. This angle also is equal to 30 degree, speed also being the same. If speed of ball is 1 meter per second, its magnitude also is given, and period of contact between the ball and floor is 0.4 second. As you can see, this is very small time interval. So let that delta t be 0.4 second. Find the average force exerted by the ball on the ground. Here you can see that writing impulse is very easy, because by writing impulse we can write change in momentum. So let us first see what will be the change in momentum and in what direction it will be. So if its mass be m, then mu is the momentum before striking the ground, and again mu is the momentum after striking with the ground, but in opposite direction. Now if we take component along horizontal and vertical direction, then if you see horizontally there is no change in momentum, because horizontally before the striking it had momentum mu cos 30 towards right, and after striking also it has the same momentum mu cos 30 towards right. So there is no change in horizontal direction. Also we know that when something will strike the floor, the normal force exerted by floor has to be perpendicular to the floor. So that is in vertical direction. So if force is applied in vertical direction, how momentum change can be there in any other direction? It has to be in vertical direction only. So momentum change has to be only in vertical direction. Here we can write delta P has to be equal to delta Y only. And what is the direction? Before striking it was mu sin 30 in vertically downward. After striking this is mu sin 30 in vertically upward. So if we write change, it will be mu sin 30 degree minus of mu sin 30 degree. Both are in opposite direction. So for one if I have put plus here, for other it has to be minus. That is equal to 2 mu sin 30 degree. And sin 30 degree is 1 by 2. So that is numerically equal to mu. So this is the change in momentum. But it is asking for average force exerted by ball on the ground. So force can be written as delta P by delta T, and we can write mu upon delta T, which is equal to, mass is given 0.4 multiplied with u, which is 1 upon delta T 0.4. That is equal to 1 Newton. So 1 Newton is the force applied by ball on the ground and vice versa. One more illustration is there. Two blocks of masses m and 2m are placed in contact on a smooth horizontal surface. Let me first draw the situation. This is m and in contact with it another block. Let this be having mass 2m. These two are in contact on a smooth horizontal surface. See, till now we have not learned about friction. So always the surface we have to take as smooth only. A horizontal force of 3 Newton is applied. Now different cases are there. First it is applied on M block. Okay, let us apply one force here, that is 3 Newton. Find force of interaction between the blocks as I have shown here. So let us first calculate acceleration for the entire body, because they are in contact. So for external forces it can be treated as a single body which is having mass 3m. So acceleration can be written as 3 upon 3m, that is equal to 1 upon m. This is acceleration of the entire system. But we have to calculate the value of normal force acting between the two masses. So let us first draw FBD for left mass, which is m. What forces are acting on it? This is 3 Newton. And from right side it has to be one normal, which is the force of interaction. But the resultant has to be towards right, because the whole body is moving towards right with acceleration a. So we have to write 3 minus n is equal to ma. And from here n is equal to 3 minus ma. On substituting the value it will be 2 Newton. So this is the normal which is acting between the blocks m and 2m. The second condition is the force is acting on 2m block now. Okay, so let us now apply this force on 2m. This is block 2m. The force applied is having the same magnitude, that is equal to 3n, and here is another block m. Again we can write acceleration. Acceleration of course will have the same value that we had got earlier, it is equal to 1 by m. This time if you write FBD for the bigger block, that is 2m, what forces are there? This is 3 Newton, and from here the interaction force, let this time it be n dash, then it should be written as 3 minus n dash is equal to 2ma, and on substituting the value it will be 2. So N dash we got is 1 Newton. So this time the interaction force between M and 2m has become 1 Newton. Let us solve one example based on the concept just now we have learned. 3 equal weights A, B and C of mass 2 kg each are hanging on a string passing over a fixed frictionless pulley, as you can see here in the diagram. The tension in the string connecting weights B and C is, it is asking for tension in this segment of the rope that is connected between B and C. So if we write for block A, then the equation of force will be T minus 2G to be equal to 2A. Here tension between A and B is considered as T. So for block A, tension will be in upward direction and we can write this given equation. Now for writing equation for B, we have to consider two tensions. So if tension in the string that is between B and C is T1, then we can write for block B T1 plus its weight that is 2G minus T to be equal to 2A. All the blocks must be having the same equation, same acceleration. So this is the force equation for block B. And similarly for block C, we have to write 2G minus T1 to be equal to 2A. On solving these three equations, finally we will get the result, that is T1 being equal to 4A and A to be equal to G by 3. So we can write T1 is equal to 4G upon 3. On substituting the numerical value of G, this will come out to be 13 Newton, which is our option number B. Now let's see what are the mechanical systems that we are going to study in our syllabus. The systems can be, either it can be a spring block system. Now what is spring block system? If there are springs in the system which is composing of different blocks, then it is known as spring block system. One example I have taken. With help of this example itself, I will explain how the situations will be solved if it is from a spring block system. So in this example, as you can see, a spring is there between the blocks having masses m and 2m, and a force F is applied on mass 2m. Now it is asking for acceleration of B and extension in the spring at this instant. Stiffness is also given there, that is K. Now if you write in the given system, since the block A is having an acceleration towards left, so there must be compression in the spring at this instant. So let us consider that particular instant when M is moving towards left. Let it is having some acceleration A. Of course, if compression is there in the spring, then the force due to spring has to be in this direction. Let that be equal to Kx, where x is compression in the spring. The other forces are vertical, which has of no significance in this given problem, that is mg and normal from the floor. They will cancel each out. So I am not showing those forces. Let us write for left block, it can be written as Kx is equal to ma. What about the right block? For right block, it has one more external force, that is F. Of course, since spring is compressed, so it will apply a force towards right, that is having the magnitude Kx. So for this we can write F plus Kx has to be equal to m. Let acceleration in block B be a dash. Then it can be written as F plus Kx is equal to 2m a dash. From here we can write value of a dash as F plus Kx upon 2m. Now substitute value of Kx from this equation number 1. It can be written as F plus ma upon 2m. So this is acceleration of block 2m. One more thing it is asking, that is extension in the spring. So extension directly can be written from equation 1, that is equal to ma upon k. Do remember one thing for now, that if spring is attached to two different blocks at its two ends, then it is not necessary that both the blocks will be moving with the same acceleration. But it will be this same acceleration will be there when the spring has maximum extension or maximum compression. So we can say that for a condition of maximum elongation or maximum compression, relative velocity or relative acceleration of its ends has to be equal to 0. Both the ends should move with same velocity or with same acceleration. Here in this given example, it was not provided that this compression is the maximum. So I have taken acceleration for the blocks to be different. One more example is there for spring block system. This time the system is vertical. So here it is shown one 3 kg block and one 2 kg block is attached with the help of one spring and is tied to a rigid support vertically. Now it is asking when string A is cut. This is cut from here. What will be the initial acceleration of upper and lower block? First draw FBD for the lower block, which is 2 kg block. What forces are acting on this block? The forces will be, of course, its weight, that is 2g in downward direction, and one spring force which is in upward direction having magnitude kx. And we can write kx minus 2g is equal to 0 because before the string is cut, it should be in equilibrium, that is given in the question. So we can write kx minus 2g is equal to 0. From here we got kx is equal to 2g. Now let us draw FBD for the upper block, which is 3 kg block. The forces here are its weight, that is 3g, kx also in downward direction and tension in upward direction. This also is in equilibrium, so here also we can write T should be equal to kx plus 3g, and kx if we substitute 2g, that is equal to 5g. So T we got as 5g. But when string is cut at A, the tension in string becomes 0 instantly. Spring force will not instantly change because spring has some inertia. It resists the change in it. So it will take little time to change its extension or compression. So for the upper block we can write when tension has become 0 when string is cut, then no upward force is there. The only force is that is acting in downward direction and which is equal to 5g. So it will start coming downward with acceleration which is equal to 5 upon 3g. This is acceleration of block A when the string is just cut. It is just at the instant when string is cut. What about the 2 kg block? When string at A is cut, there will be no change in acceleration of the lower block, and for this it will be having acceleration 0 only, because for lower block there is no force change here. Kx remains the same, gravity remains the same. So it will continue remain in equilibrium. Of course, with time, when upper block starts coming down with some acceleration, extension will change, and then spring force on lower block also will change. But just at the moment of cutoff, there will be no change in situation of block 2 kg. One other very common system is there, which is pulley block system. In this system, one or more pulley will be attached with a number of blocks. What we have to consider is, generally pulley will be massless, so there should be no mass consideration for pulley, and since it is massless, on both the sides tension has to be considered as same. So this is the first thing we have to consider, that tension for an ideal pulley on both sides has to be same. Here we are not considering any rotation of pulley. That also has to be considered in later chapter, but here till now there is no consideration of rotation. We are assuming all the bodies as particle mass only, so there has to be equal tension on both the sides. So this is the situation for a pulley block system. And what if more than one pulley is involved, or if a movable pulley is involved? Then we have to write for movable pulley also. For these kind of numericals, we should apply some constraint. And what is that constraint? That is the constraint relation. It is very helpful in solving problems that involve pulley block system. It is called constraint relation. The constraint relation with pulley is that total length of string has to be equal to constant, And how is it obtained? The fixed point is taken as reference, and from that reference, position of all moving bodies are to be located. Like for mass M2, if I write R2, then for this I am writing R1. So what is the constraint here? That R1 plus R2 should be constant. Of course, it would be the case because we consider our string to be ideal, which is inextensible. So if there is no extension in the string, its length has to be constant, and we can write R1 plus R2 is equal to constant. If you differentiate it, you will get V1 plus V2 is equal to 0. And the same can be written for acceleration also, that is A1 plus A2 is equal to 0, and from here we can write A1 is equal to minus of A2. So if one body is coming down with acceleration A, other has to move up with the same acceleration A. This is called constraint relation. I had taken the simplest possible example for this just to show how is it written. So do remember, first you have to fix a reference line from where you have to locate position of all the movable things. Do not write position of the stationary things, because on differentiation that will come to 0. So only locate all the movable objects with respect to that reference, and then differentiate to get your relation between velocity or acceleration, whatever is required.